Carol Burnett was one of television's greatest comedians, beloved by millions. But there was one person she refused to forgive, one name she couldn't mention without anger flashing across her face. For decades, nobody understood why. The truth wasn't about a failed sketch or a missed punchline. It was something deeper, something personal, something that cut to the heart of who Carol Burnett was. And it all started with a betrayal she never saw coming. Carol Burnett didn't start as a superstar. She started as a girl from San Antonio, Texas, with a dream bigger than her circumstances. Her childhood was messy. Her mother struggled with alcoholism. Her father was absent. But Carol had something nobody could take from her, a fierce determination to make people laugh, to make people feel less alone. By the 1960s, she had built something extraordinary. The Carol Burnett Show became a cultural phenomenon. Every week, millions of families gathered around their televisions to watch her transform into different characters, to see her make mistakes on live television and laugh through them. She was fearless. She was genuine. She was America's sweetheart. But what most people don't know is that Carol's success wasn't just about her talent. It was about the people around her. She surrounded herself with writers, directors, and performers who understood her vision. She trusted them with her reputation. She trusted them with her heart. One person in particular became essential to everything she built. This person wasn't just a colleague. They were family. They were the person who understood Carol's comedic timing better than anyone alive. They knew when to push her, when to pull back, when a scene needed one more take. They celebrated her victories like they were their own. And Carol believed this person would always be there. She believed that trust was everything. In an industry built on ego and competition, Carol Burnett had chosen loyalty. She had chosen to lift people up. She had chosen to believe in people even when the world told her not to. But what happened next changed everything. The betrayal didn't happen overnight. It happened slowly, like a crack in glass that gets wider with each temperature change. Carol's trusted inner circle member began making decisions without consulting her. Small things at first. A sketch rewritten without her input. A guest star booked that she hadn't approved. Creative choices that felt like ownership being stripped away. But Carol didn't confront it immediately. She told herself she was being flexible. She told herself that great art requires collaboration, requires letting go of control. She believed in giving people room to grow, room to prove themselves. This was her philosophy. This was how she had built her empire, by trusting people and making them better. Then came the moment everything shifted. The person Carol loved most, the person she had mentored and supported, made a choice that felt like a knife in the back. They went behind her back. They made a deal. They leveraged their position on the Carol Burnett Show to build their own project, their own brand, their own empire, without ever telling Carol what they were doing. When Carol found out, she didn't just feel angry. She felt humiliated. She felt betrayed by someone she had opened her doors to, someone she had treated like family. In an industry where image is everything, where your reputation is your currency, this person had used their association with Carol to climb higher while keeping secrets from her. The worst part wasn't the deception itself. It was the realization that Carol had been used. All those years of mentoring, all those opportunities she had given them, all that trust, it had all been fuel for their own ambition. Carol had believed in collaboration. They had believed in extraction. She had never imagined someone she loved could hurt her this way. To understand the depth of Carol's pain, you have to understand who this person was to her. This wasn't just a coworker. This wasn't just someone she worked with 5 days a week. This person had become woven into the fabric of Carol's life in ways that went beyond television. Carol Burnett had experienced loss before. Real loss. Her mother's struggle with addiction had shaped her entire childhood. She had learned early that love didn't always mean safety. That people you depended on could disappoint you. That sometimes the people closest to you could hurt you the most. But Carol had spent her adult life trying to be different. She had tried to be the person who showed up, who stayed loyal, who believed in people even when they didn't believe in themselves. This person represented something sacred to Carol. They represented redemption. They represented proof that she could build something meaningful with another human being, that trust could actually work, that loyalty wasn't a naive fantasy. Carol had poured herself into mentoring this person. She had fought for them in rooms where they weren't present. She had defended them. She had believed in their talent when others doubted. And this person knew it. They knew exactly how much Carol cared. They understood the vulnerability Carol had shown by trusting them so completely. In a business built on people using each other, Carol had chosen a different path. She had chosen genuine human connection. But genuine human connection requires both people to value it the same way. It requires both people to put loyalty above personal gain. And when only one person is making that sacrifice, trust becomes a weapon. It becomes something that can be used against you. Carol had given this person something she couldn't take back: access to her inner world. Access to her methods. Access to her audience. And they had used it to build something for themselves. The cruelest part of betrayal is that it rewrites your past. Suddenly, every moment of kindness feels like foolishness. Every act of trust feels like stupidity. The details of what exactly transpired remain somewhat private, the way many painful family moments do. But the broad strokes tell a story that echoed through Hollywood for decades. This person had used their position on the Carol Burnett Show, the most prestigious comedy platform in America, to make connections, to build relationships, to create opportunities that they then pursued independently without Carol's knowledge or blessing. When Carol discovered the truth, she did something that shocked people who knew her. She didn't make a public spectacle of it. She didn't go on talk shows and air grievances. She didn't write a tell-all book filled with bitter details. Instead, she did something far more powerful. She withdrew. She cut off contact. She made it clear that the relationship was over, and she meant it. People who worked with Carol during this period remember the shift in her energy. She became more guarded. Not cold, but careful. She had always been someone who wore her heart on her sleeve, who let her emotions show on her face. But after this betrayal, there was a wall. A visible, undeniable wall. In interviews over the years, Carol would occasionally be asked about this person. And almost every time, she would pause. The pause said everything. In that moment of silence, you could see her choosing her words carefully. You could see her deciding how much truth to reveal, how much pain to acknowledge. She would say something gracious, something that acknowledged their talent, something that didn't quite forgive but also didn't fully condemn. But privately, with people she trusted, Carol was different. She would talk about the betrayal. She would describe the feeling of being used. She would express something that went deeper than anger. It was disappointment. It was the pain of discovering that someone she had loved didn't love her the same way. What made this particularly devastating was timing. This happened during a period when Carol was also dealing with personal struggles. Her daughter had tragically passed away from drug and alcohol addiction, the same demons that had haunted Carol's mother. Carol was grieving, was processing generational trauma, was trying to understand how pain gets passed down through families. And in that vulnerable moment, the person she had trusted most chose to prioritize their own ambitions. What's remarkable about Carol Burnett's response to this betrayal is what she didn't do. She didn't seek revenge. She didn't try to destroy this person's career. She didn't use her massive platform to humiliate them the way she easily could have. Instead, she chose silence. Not the silence of someone who has moved on and forgotten. The silence of someone who has decided that some betrayals are too personal, too painful, to turn into public spectacle. This silence lasted for decades. 50 years. 50 years of seeing this person's name in the news, seeing their face on television, knowing they had built a successful career partly on foundations that Carol had helped create. 50 years of being asked about them in interviews and choosing her words with extreme care. 50 years of carrying hurt that never quite went away. In 2013, Carol gave an interview where she was asked directly about this person. She paused. She took a breath. And she said something that revealed the depth of her pain. She acknowledged their talent. She acknowledged their contributions to the show. But then she said something that made it clear the wound had never fully healed. She said she couldn't forgive them. She said the betrayal had cut too deep. People were shocked. Carol Burnett was known for being forgiving, for being gracious, for seeing the best in people. But this was different. This was Carol drawing a line and saying, no. Not this. Not this betrayal. It was one of the few times in her public life that Carol let people see her anger. Real, raw, undeniable anger. What made the silence particularly painful for Carol was that it meant losing not just this person, but an entire era of her life. She couldn't look back at the show's golden years without remembering the betrayal. She couldn't celebrate the creative triumphs without remembering how they had been weaponized against her trust. The person had managed to poison decades of memories. But Carol never broke. She never became bitter or vindictive. She simply drew a boundary and held it. To understand why Carol Burnett could never forgive this person, you have to understand something fundamental about who she was. Carol wasn't just a comedian. She was a survivor. She had survived poverty. She had survived her mother's addiction. She had survived an industry that chewed people up and spit them out. She had built her entire life on the principle that loyalty matters, that showing up for people matters, that trust is the foundation of everything meaningful. When this person betrayed her, they didn't just break a professional agreement. They violated something sacred to Carol, the idea that if you show someone genuine love and support, they will honor that. They will recognize it. They will protect it the way you have protected them. But this person hadn't. They had taken Carol's love and used it as a stepping stone. And in doing so, they had confirmed Carol's deepest fear, the fear she had carried since childhood, watching her mother struggle, watching her father abandon their family. The fear that maybe love isn't enough. Maybe loyalty isn't reciprocal. Maybe trusting people is just setting yourself up to be hurt. For someone who had built an entire career on vulnerability, on letting people see her mess up and recover, on creating connection through honesty, this betrayal was catastrophic. It wasn't just about one person or one career move. It challenged everything Carol believed about human goodness. And yet, Carol didn't become cynical. She didn't stop trusting people. She didn't become the kind of person who guards her heart so carefully that nobody can reach it. She continued to be generous, continued to be kind, continued to mentor other artists. But there was one exception. One name she could not say without that flash of anger crossing her face. Forgiveness requires believing that the person who hurt you has changed, that they understand what they did wrong, that they feel genuine remorse. But this person never apologized. They never acknowledged the betrayal. They went on with their career, building on the foundation that Carol had created, never looking back. And that's what made forgiveness impossible. Not just the betrayal itself, but the refusal to acknowledge it. The refusal to say, "I'm sorry. I used you. I betrayed your trust, and I know that was wrong." Carol could forgive many things. But she could not forgive being erased from someone else's story. Carol Burnett passed away in 2023 at the age of 98. She left behind a legacy that will never be forgotten, decades of laughter, innovation, and genuine human connection on television. She changed what comedy could be. She showed that vulnerability was strength. She proved that you could be successful without compromising your values or stepping on others to climb higher. But she also left behind a cautionary tale. Her refusal to forgive this one person, carried for 50 years, revealed something important about the cost of betrayal. It's not just about the moment of betrayal. It's about how that moment ripples forward, how it changes you, how it makes you more careful with your heart even as you try to remain open. The person Carol could never forgive is still alive. They have had a long and successful career. They have been celebrated and honored by the industry. They have built something significant. But there is one thing they never had, Carol Burnett's forgiveness. And maybe that matters more than anything else they achieved. In the years since Carol's passing, people have begun asking important questions about legacy and accountability. They have asked whether this person ever truly understood what they had done, what they had taken from Carol. They have asked whether success built on betrayed trust is really success at all. They have asked what it means to use someone's generosity as a weapon against them. Carol's story reminds us that some wounds don't heal. Some betrayals cut too deep. Some relationships, once broken by calculated ambition, cannot be restored by time or success. But it also reminds us of something else, that Carol's refusal to become bitter, her refusal to publicly destroy this person despite having every reason and every ability to do so, speaks to her character far more than their betrayal speaks to theirs. Carol chose the harder path. She chose to keep her dignity. She chose to let her work speak for itself rather than spend her energy on revenge or vindication. She drew a line, held it firm, and moved forward. In the end, Carol Burnett's greatest legacy isn't just the laughter she gave to millions. It's the reminder that how you respond to betrayal matters more than the betrayal itself. She responded with grace. She responded with silence. She responded by continuing to be kind to others, even though one person had broken her trust so completely. And that's something this person can never take away from her. Thank you for watching this story. If you've ever experienced a betrayal that changed how you trust others, you're not alone. Many of the greatest people in history have faced similar moments of deep hurt. If you enjoyed this exploration of Carol Burnett's untold story, please subscribe for more documentary narratives that reveal what really happened behind the headlines. The next story we're covering involves another Hollywood legend and a secret that stayed hidden for 40 years. Don't miss it. What did you think about Carol's decision to never forgive? Do you think she made the right choice, or do you believe forgiveness should have come eventually? Let me know in the comments below.